My name is John Kempton. I'm the Director of HR at Birkbeck College. I've been involved with HR and equality issues for an awfully long time. Probably the first major equalities was around LGBT back in the 80s. I was involved with campaigning then around equality and equal opportunities, or now as it's more usually referred to as diversity and inclusion, particularly in the private sector. And also I do a lot of work with charities to support diversity and inclusion, and also with individuals who feel they haven't had opportunities and want somebody to advocate on their behalf. So as well as my day job, I do a lot of volunteering to support equality as well. I think you can look at this through a number of lenses. On a sort of very base level, it's giving people access to opportunity, progression, careers, and to social justice in all its forms, irrespective of gender. But you can also look at this through a moral lens, ethical lens, and it tells you a lot about an organisation, a person, even a country, how they treat their people, and do they give people that respect and acknowledgement. And it's not a tolerance, it's acceptance and respect, irrespective of whether it's gender or any of the protected characteristics. I think it says an awful lot about where people are coming from and their values. I think that is one of the great strengths of Birkbeck. As when you're here, you realise it is not lip service. I've worked in lots of organisations, or dealt with organisations where people talk about a commitment to equality. But at Birkbeck, people take it very seriously. And so when you come to talk about gender equality, it's not just how do we comply with legislation. The Equal Pay Act has been around for a very long time, and we still do not have equal pay for women. It's really clear. So it's very clear. Just by changing the law, we do not change people's attitudes and behaviours. And that, I think, goes to the heart of this, is how do we change that? And I think that's what gender equality means to me, is not just compliance with laws or policies or procedures, is how do we change attitudes and behaviours so that women are treated with, as I said before, that respect, acceptance and acknowledgement of the contribution they make. I think you can look at it from a very business perspective. That's why I just want to quote a couple of statistics. If you look at research by Credit Suisse, merchant bank, their analysis of 2,400 global companies demonstrates that those with at least one female board member consistently have superior share price performance, 4% higher return on equity, 4% higher net income growth. If you look at research in 2011, looking at Standard & Poor's 1500 index, where firms have female senior executives, they generated on average $44 million more revenue on average. So there is a very clear business argument why having a diversity of senior staff is important around delivering organisational success. Before you get into the earlier points I made around the ethical, moral issues, around how do you treat people, how do you value and treat them, not just tolerance, but truly accept and respect them. And I think that is why it's important. Because I think if you look at organisations that have good gender equality, it is not just that, they have good equality. And actually by addressing gender equality, we address equality across the board. I think that is what you need to look at. Because if you look at some of the headlines even of this week, MPs debating Muslim women are the most disadvantaged group in this country. Mental health in female undergraduates is higher than in men. Only one in 6 women are VCs of the top 200 universities. Now I thought that's not very good until you start reading into that report, and that's up from the 2014 survey, 14-15 survey. So it's not good, but actually some things might be moving in the right direction. But while we start looking at issues, the most disadvantaged group are Muslim women. What are we doing about that? Actually, I think that's talking to a whole range of issues there, because you then start looking at what's their socioeconomic grouping. It's not just about race, ethnicity, nationality. It's not just about gender. There's a whole lot of things that get wrapped up in that we can't just address by addressing gender, but we have to address the whole of equality, but being cognizant of the role of gender equality in that. It's a paradox. It's being in the centre of London. There is an assumption that being central London based, it is very easy to attract a diverse workforce. And in fact, it's not. Because underlying a lot of these issues are the gender stereotypical roles you see a lot in academic disciplines. Before I came to Birkbeck, I worked for a very heavily scientific research-based university, and we proactively tried to recruit women. But when you go out to headhunters, and they would say, in this discipline, you have probably got X thousand men and probably in the low hundreds women. So trying to recruit is incredibly difficult in this discipline. And I think it's recognised that as what is it that we can do to change that balance and give not only women but the other disadvantaged groups the ability to change the opportunity balance. I did some work, a research project a few years ago looking at equality and diversity and leadership development, and we went to visit Harvard, Cornell and NYU. And again, those universities are enormous, have great resources, but they have some fantastic innovative programs, and particularly in the sciences, where they were looking to change the balance of the number of women studying in the sciences. And they have these week-long programs where they bring in women-only groups, or young women-only groups from high school and junior college for whole weeks or during the summer. But because they've got the money, they're fully funded. So they fly these students in from all over the States into these universities. They have an intensive week around not just about sciences, but changing their attitudes about leadership, careers, options. And some of these young women, they've been on this 2 or 3 times. They can go to different universities, and it is changing the dynamic. People are thinking differently about what is my career. And so they are starting to see some change in the demographics of people coming through. But again, we in this country, we don't have those massive universities with that level of funding that can run these, which are national programs, to change those dynamics. And I think that's a big challenge, is in an era where resourcing is getting tighter and tighter. Birkbeck is one of the few places where the first cuts aren't always learning and development, equality, all the easy targets. Actually, these things are recognised and valued. So we are focusing on this strategic review of equality and diversity. We have invested in supporting things like Athena Swan, Aurora, Stella, Trigger. And again, there's lots of issues we're looking at. But again, is that trying to find national networks to link into is quite difficult, particularly if you look at BAME staff. For BAME women in particular, where is the network and support to enable and mentor them? It's very difficult to find good, robust, recognised support networks. And so we talk a lot about what we can do, and we do link into those that, opportunities and fund them where we can. But again, is that how are we going to make that continue into the future? What is the future when we vote as a nation against Brexit? What is the message we put out to international students, not just European students, but international students, about what is it we value as a country? Ignoring all the sort of economic arguments, but actually just what does that message say? And actually, as Birkbeck, we are very consciously putting out the message saying, we value you as a person, as an individual, and we recognise that you can come here and be in a supportive environment, learn, study, develop and grow as a member of staff, as a student. And that is really important. I think Birkbeck's mission has become more important now than ever before in the past. That's saying to people, we will give you the opportunity that you haven't had before. And I think for gender equality and for equality generally, I think that is now absolutely critical. And I think one of the reasons why I came to Birkbeck is because I really believe that is something we should be doing, not just as Birkbeck College, but also as higher education and beyond, to create that social change.